Hey, what's up there, YouTubers? It's me again, Brian, aka Gamer55551, and I am back with a video review. And for this review, we're going to be taking a look at Dragon Age 11 for the Nintendo Switch, called Echoes of the Exclusive Age, or Dragon Age 11S. Like I said, for the Nintendo Switch. Game is also available on the PS4 and 3DS, but only in Japan, as far as I remember, and of course on PC via Steam. But for this review, we're going to be taking a look at the Nintendo Switch version. And if you're interested in any gameplay footage of me playing Dragon Quest 11 on the Nintendo Switch, I'll have a link in the description down below and you can check it out. Plus, I want to give my thoughts on the demo that has come out so far in regards of Pokemon Mystery Dungeon DX. Back at a time when the Nintendo Switch was referred to at the moment called Enix, though, one of the games that was announced at the time was Dragon Quest 11. Now, this kind of surprised some people a little bit because no one even saw what the NX was going to look like and all that stuff. No one even knew what the system was going to look like. There were rumors at the time referred to as a console handheld hybrid, and some people kind of thought Square Enix was kind of jumping the gun a little bit when there were some issues of them developing the game or having some issues and all that stuff. But fast forward to around October 2016, when we finally saw what NX was. It turned out to be the Nintendo Switch. We later learned that NVIDIA was supplying the SoC chip to the Nintendo Switch, basically part of the Tegra X1 lineup, the second generation Maxwell. And we learned that basically the Nintendo Switch would support Unreal Engine 4 and Unity as well. Of course, it didn't get the full Unreal Engine 4 version yet. They had to update the system. Unreal had to update the engine for the Switch and all that stuff, but eventually it got to the point to where it fully supports Unreal Engine 4. So for Switch owners, they had to wait a bit until the game finally come out. In the meantime, the PS4 version came out in 2018, along with the PC version. And last year, we finally got our hands on the Nintendo Switch version. And I will say it's probably worth the wait, because to me, Dragon Quest 11 it's basically plays back to some of the old school RPGs with a couple new twists here and there. And I will say the Switch version, surprisingly, runs very well. So why don't we get started with our pros and cons, and we'll start off first with the pros. The first one I want to talk about is the visuals, and I will say the visuals of the game looks nice. The art style and the character designs look good. It's by the same person who does the Dragon Ball Z series. Again, I'm not really a big Dragon Ball Z fan, but those who like it, that's fine. I mean, but like I said, the characters and the models look really nice, and the game runs very good, especially for a game running on Unreal Engine 4. So from a visual standpoint, the visuals look good. The next thing I want to talk about is the gameplay, and the gameplay is basically enjoyable and fun. It follows mostly the tried and true formula of like a traditional RPG and all that stuff, but it also adds a couple of new things as well. One of the things I saw was the ability to switch between different weapons, which can come in handy depending on the kind of battles you're going into and so forth, to certain powers, such as after a while your character will get what's called like a prep power. If I'm saying the name incorrectly, I apologize, where their attacks and all that, their attacks increase, their defense increase for a bit. And you can also use like an ultimate attack, and you can also team up with your other companions to do like a really good combo and so forth. So from a gameplay perspective, it's enjoyable. I mean, it's good and so forth. The next thing I do want to talk about is the music, and the game definitely shines with the music. I mean, I like the orchestrated for the music in the game, especially some of the areas, particularly one where you go to a hot spring that has a bit of that oriental vibe to it, though. So from a music standpoint, it is really nice. And last but not least is the 2D mode. For those who are not familiar, for the Switch version, you could literally play this game like you would if you played like the old Dragon Quest games back during like the 8-bit and 16-bit era. This one's more related to the 16-bit era, and some of the changes that they made is some of the combat's a little bit different than it is in the 3D mode though. The visuals obviously look different and so forth, but it is a nice feature for them to add. There is one area at one time where you will have to play the game in basically in the 2D sprites and all that stuff, but if you literally want to play this game in a full, you know, like 2D mode and all that stuff, you could technically play the entire game in 2D mode if you want to. So I will say, excuse me, 2D mode is certainly a nice feature. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we're going to get to part 2, which is the cons. Plus, I'm going to give my thoughts on the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon DX. So, take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 2 of our video review of the Switch version of Dragon Quest XI. So now that I gave you the pros, why don't I give you the cons? And for the cons though, there are only 3 that I could think of. Not really huge cons, especially the third one, but one that I thought was, I just thought it was a bit awkward and all that stuff. We'll start off first off with the 2D mode. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I thought the 2D mode was a nice feature, and it is sort of like for those who like to, basically like to play, you know, Dragon Quest back like in like the 8-bit or 16-bit era and all that stuff, and that's fine for those who like that stuff. But for me, I didn't find myself using the 2D mode that much. For the most part, I just found myself playing the game in the 3D mode and all that, except, as I mentioned earlier, except for one area where you'll be teleported to a village and you have to play via the game in 2D mode and all that stuff. But outside of that, I just pretty much stuck with playing it in 3D mode and all that and all. So I didn't find myself using the 2D mode that much. Others may enjoy it and all that stuff, and that's fine. If you like playing the game Dragon Quest XI in the 2D mode, good for you and all that stuff. It's just I didn't find myself playing it that much. The next thing I do want to talk about is the visuals. Now, I will say, as I mentioned earlier, I thought the visuals of the game looked nice, even on the Nintendo Switch, especially with the game running on Unreal Engine 4. But I will say, as far as the visuals go, although they look nice, they're not as good as, say, like what you would get on the PS4 or the PC, which is pretty obvious. But at the same time, the visuals aren't as noticeable as, say, games like Doom, Wolfenstein 2, or Witcher 3 are. And it's worth pointing out those games are more graphically demanding than, say, Dragon Quest XI is. So they're not, the visuals, I mean, don't look as, while the visuals may not look as good as the PS4 or the PC version, they're not as noticeable. I mean, you have to look really carefully, but overall, the game is still there. It's still running on Unreal Engine 4, and it runs fine on the Nintendo Switch based on my time with it, though. Just be aware, though, that that the visuals won't look as good as, say, the PS4 or the PC version, but it's not as noticeable as graphically demanding games like Doom, Wolfenstein 2, and Witcher 3, as I mentioned. And last but not least, I do want to talk about the jumping mechanics in the game. Now, I do want to say that the jumping mechanics in the game isn't bad or anything like that. But it just feels a little awkward when compared to say like playing like say a Mario game or something like that. Now, I'm not saying the main hero or anything like that is like Mario or anything like that, and you can still move around. And also, the point I'm trying to make is that the jumping mechanics work, but it does feel a little awkward at times. It's not 100% perfect, but it's not broken either. So for me, the jumping mechanics is a little bit awkward and all. Overall, Dragon Quest XI, in my view, is a must-own, especially if you're an RPG fan. Whether it's worth picking up the Switch version or not, it's going to depend really on what your system of choice is, though. For me, like I said, the Switch is sort of my main to console as well, even though I own a PS4 and so forth. And I have been having fun with the Nintendo Switch version. The visuals of the game look nice, even though it may not look as good as the PS4 or the PC version. It still holds up very well. Not, like I said earlier, not as noticeable as Doom, Wolfenstein 2, and Witcher 3. The music and the gameplay is really fun and so forth. And the 2D mode, I think, was a nice feature that they added to the game, even though I don't use it as much during my playthrough and so forth. But overall, I have to say, Dragon Quest XI is a must-own for whatever system of choice it is. To me, like I said, mine's the Nintendo Switch, so I'm picking up the Switch version. And given how well the series has done so far, or at least Dragon Quest XI, here's to hoping we'll hear more about Dragon Quest XII, and fingers crossed, at least for me as a longtime Nintendo fan, to hopefully see Dragon Quest XII come to the Nintendo Switch, or basically come to the Nintendo Switch. Okay, before I end this video, I do want to give my thoughts on the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon. For those who are not aware of, Nintendo recently put out a demo for the upcoming release of Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, which I believe is a remake of the original 2005, which I think it was released either on the Game Boy Advance or Nintendo DS. I think Game Boy Advance. I'm not 100% sure. Just for clarity, I never played the original Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, and I'm not really a big Pokemon fan. So going into this, I wasn't sure about this game. So after trying it out and doing about at least 2 of the dungeons, I will say the game isn't bad. I mean, I like the visuals of the game look really nice. The art style kind of reminds me just a little bit of the art style in Super Mario World 2, Yoshi's Island for the Super Nintendo. My only real criticism I have, and I'm not really a huge fan of this, is when you're moving your Pokemon in the dungeons and so forth. Now, the dungeons are pretty much randomized dungeons, which, to me, I'm okay with that. I'm not really bothered by that, but I'm just not a big fan with the movement. I don't know if this is just the roguelike movement and so forth, but I'm not really big with that, though. It just makes moving your character a little bit difficult. I mean, it didn't make it difficult to the point that I found the game to be unplayable and so forth, but I'm not really a big fan with that approach. That said, the gameplay is kind of fun. I mean, it's a top-down approach, almost kind of somewhat similar, not 100%, similar to what it is in the classic Legend of Zelda games, though. You basically start off answering some questions, and then then you get to choose what kind of Pokemon you are, although you could change that, and you could also choose to pick your partner as well, and you sort of advance doing these missions and all that stuff, basically rescuing other Pokemons and so forth. I have one that my Pokemon basically breathes fire, while I picked another one that shoots water and all. I apologize if I don't understand their names. Like I said, I'm not really a big Pokemon fan and so forth. But I will say my time with the game is not bad or anything like that. It is enjoyable for what it is. I'm just not a big fan of when you have to move your character, at least when you're in the dungeon part of Pokemon Mystery Dungeon. But when you're outside, you can move your character just perfectly fine. Maybe it's me, but at least I just not a big fan of that approach. But I'm willing to give this game a try, and hopefully we'll see what the final version is when the final version comes out. And if this one does well, maybe Nintendo will dig in and maybe remake, say, Pokemon Conquest, which I believe that was a crossover between Pokemon and I think Koei Tecmo's Romance of the Three Kingdoms, or Samurai Warriors, or something like that. Or characters from Samurai Warriors. I don't know 100%, but maybe that game will get a remake for the Nintendo Switch. Although, honestly, I would prefer a remake or a remaster version of, if you're doing crossovers, I would prefer to do a remake or remaster of Project X Zone 1 and 2, and I would love to see a port, love to see a Project X Zone 3 if that were to ever happen. But that's me, that's my take. Okay, this concludes my video review of Dragon Quest XI for the Nintendo Switch. And again, these are my opinion. What are yours? What are your thoughts of Dragon Quest XI? Is this worth picking up for the Nintendo Switch? Is the Switch version worth getting, or do you believe you're better off just sticking with the PS4 or the PC version? Do you think that Square Enix should consider bringing Dragon Quest XII if that game ever sees the light of day? Bring it to the Nintendo Switch and all. And what are your thoughts about Pokemon Mystery Dungeon DX? Did you download the demo? Have you tried it out? Did you enjoy the game? Were there things you liked? Were there things you didn't like about it? Do you agree with what I said in this video? Do you disagree? Do you have a difference of opinion? As always, sound off in the comment section below. Let me know what you think. And if you like this video, I hope you hit the like button. And I hope you do subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you do, make sure you hit the bell icon for notifications of any new videos that I do. Also, feel free to share this video if you want to, and feel free to donate to my channel if you like. You could do it through PayPal me or Patreon. Links will be in the description. And I will see you again next time when I do another video. Hopefully that'll be soon. Until then, from Southern California, wish you all a good day then. Bye!